Speaker, I'd like for you to pay close attention. Please do not interrupt. If you've got a question, write it down. At 3 minutes to 8, we will break for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then our speaker will come back and you can ask any questions that you want. They'll all be answered before we leave. So this individual I've worked closely with for the last 8 months. He works full-time, he's got a business, he's got a family. He's not old and tired like me, but he does an excellent job and has been at the forefront of piercing the veil of the corruption in this county. Please help me in welcoming Cody Hart.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. I know it's been a while, and I hope this is worth it for you. I have a lot of things to go over. I'm going to hopefully be able to get them all in the 50 minutes that are remaining, roughly. So I'm just going to get into it, and as mentioned, if you keep your questions until afterward, because there's a lot to go over, and I want to keep the continuity going. So this is an update on where we're at and why I've been so silent. I've spoken at a meeting quite a few months ago, and I told people I wouldn't be back for a while because I had something to accomplish. This is a religious mission to me personally. As we all know, there's been an assault on us as Americans, as Skagitonians. There's been an assault on my religious beliefs as a Christian, and the people are all the same people doing it to everybody. And the speaker right before me, Larry, they're doing it to him. So I have unyielding commitment to this cause, and you're going to understand how big this is after I update you on where we think we're at with this and where things are headed. So I'm going to cover 3 basic points in this. And I'm sorry for those of you who've been following along, you're going to hear some of the same stuff at the beginning. That's why I tell you there's 3 parts. The middle of it is going to be what we think has truly happened, and then the end of it is where we're going from here. So first thing is the background on this. I'm just going to remind everyone there's really no dispute over any of this. We have identified a number of violations over the last several years, and I'll start with the election violations that we're all aware of. We are entering into another election season, and it isn't even this year's. If you haven't noticed, the federal elections have already started. And it feels an awful lot like it did a few years back, doesn't it? So they're starting earlier this year. The tone of the country is probably the tensest I've seen it in my life. And I think a lot of people here would probably agree with that. We started off, and again, this is not disputed. We have documentation, signed confirmations from the government officials. They were fully aware they had military voter violations in the 2019 elections and prior that were identified in a Secretary of State report. They have logic and accuracy test violations, provisional ballot violations. And as I speak of these, most of these violations occurred not just up to 2019. This is the report, we found it, but they have been occurring since. Most of these have not been resolved. We have meeting violations in the history of our county since it was federally mandated and mandated by the state. They violated our canvassing board and our public officials' public meetings for over almost 2 decades, longer, not including the public in their canvassing process and in the election process. They had not created rules that they could be held accountable to, the canvassing board manuals. And then they went ahead and certified elections under oath and penalty of removal from office for the certification being false, and they knew they were false. And they continued to do it after 2019. 2020 election, we had some audit findings I was personally involved in and I've shared with people. And when I put this slideshow together, I've been a very busy person. Most of this was done today. So as you see grammatical errors, I apologize. But I had to remind myself on how much is really in front of us. We had the presidential and federal elections in 2020 where we identified that the Skagit County Election Office had deleted months of surveillance video of newly installed election video surveillance that had been installed with a federal grant just a month prior to the election. And they deleted all of them upon my request for a record of them. That was a result of a lot of problems I had come across. We had the meeting violations. We had ballot fraud and forgery violations. If you recall, there was a significant audit analysis, an audit report that has drawn, if you hadn't heard, the Secretary of State does not like me conducting audits. It wants to stop me from doing it. And that audit report has been a thorn in his side and the side of every election office in this state ever since, because it's an undisputed, tangible evidence that can be proven with records that they cannot remove because they've already entered the public purview. And then we have forgery violations as well. If you don't recall, we have in Skagit County, and I'm glad to have been the one that initiated it. We have the largest ballot forgery criminal investigation initiated in state history here in Skagit County. Ballot issuance violations, no identifications needed for replacement ballots. Again, this is not under dispute. They're not disputing it. They're just saying they can't, there's nothing anyone can do about it. They don't ask you who you are. You can pick up a ballot for anyone you want. And if you cast it and vote it before the person who is legally supposed to, their vote will not count. And that still is the case. Security violations on ballot boxes. I had to remind myself of all these things. And again, no dispute. We do not meet federal mandates and state mandates for our ballot box security. We have video imagery of the election officials handling thousands upon thousands of ballots in open, unsecured containers that are traveling to and from who knows where without any verification process that would pass the sniff test for anyone who had any logic in their brain. We have observer violations. I was personally a part of, again, no dispute. They just lock you out when they don't want you to see what they're doing. They don't invite you when they're doing it. They work after hours. They shut the doors and don't let you in no matter how hard you pound on them. The sheriff won't help. Nobody will help. Again, 2020, 22, it's never stopped. Meeting violations. I am proud that others in this room, a significant number of them, were some of the first attendees at the first known canvassing board meeting in Skagit County history, and it only took 20-something years. It's all just 20-something years. No meeting records of any past meetings, no record of attendees. Election certification, again, every time they certified an election, when they're running an election this way, they violated state and federal laws. Now, we don't have just election violations. We've been focusing on, for the last several months, on another aspect of what I'll define here in a minute as malfeasance, misfeasance, violations of oath. We have official bond violations. This is an insurance policy mandated under state law, a surety bond for every public official in the entire state, and that's just our county, and it goes back to the establishment of the state of Washington when it was first established. This is not a unique requirement. It is not a new requirement. It is not an obscure requirement. We have oath of office violations that are just plaguing the entire county. They either never submit them, or when they submit them, they're invalid when they do submit them, and they have no lawful effect because of how they did it. We have an unauthorized use of public funds and resources. We are going to generally say in the tens of millions of dollars range right now that is our funds, it's our money, it's not theirs. The public officials are entrusted to act on our behalf following the rules that we give them to handle our money. The surety bond is one of those rules. It's an insurance policy. If they mishandle it, the insurance policy will pay it, and we won't have the financial loss. They don't have bonds. There is no insurance policy. The fiduciary role that they're in is non-existent. Ineligible use of public funds and resources. We have proven, again, it's not under dispute. I'm in the courtroom with this stuff. It's not even disputed. We have employees. I don't actually know what they are. To be honest with you, we don't know what they are, and it's kind of scary, some of the options of who these people are. They weren't lawfully appointed. They're not lawfully elected, some of them that we believe are elected, but the unlawfully appointed ones are very scary because they're not an actual elected person who failed us. They're somebody who came in off the street that was empowered by someone. And then they got empowered with more power than our elected officials. And they won't leave. And they won't stop doing what they're doing, which is running everything. Very simply, they're running it. They're not elected, they're not under oath, they are not our representatives. And frankly, they're in charge of people we think we elected. I've seen it firsthand. Ineligible use of public funds, it's not the same thing. So someone unauthorized doesn't have permission to ever use them. And then we have a couple dozen only examples of public officials, appointees, and employees using funds that are not lawfully allowed to even be used for why they're using them. They may be in a legal position, they may be an employee, appointee, or a public official, but there are rules, and they're supposed to be following them. And we set down certain rules that they can't use money in every situation. Matter of fact, it's very, very, very defined. There's not a bunch of gray minutia in this. It's all in writing. There are rules, and they don't even care. I've seen unelected, not lawfully appointed persons in this county, not just one, just tell the government, we're going to use this money for us. And they did it. There was no asking, there was no public meeting, there was no interlocal agreement. They just said, you're going to pay me for this when I'm done. And by the way, I'm using the money on me. Okay? It's not under dispute. Here are just some of the statutes. I mean, these are codes, technically, revised code of Washington. Public official misconduct. I will tell you there are two more I deleted for size. I probably could qualify them for that. I don't believe there's a dispute over them violating these. I am telling you, out of the 10 or so, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, we have 80% of all of the possible official misconduct charges in the state of Washington have been committed by over 24 public officials in this county. These aren't even the bad ones. But since it says official misconduct, I thought it'd be worth making sure you understood. How we got here also deals with what these people have done. Everything I described to you, I just want you to understand this, RCW. It's going to come up in the future. You may want to read it. And everything I'm doing will be posted at some points for those of you who can't keep up with the slides. Malfeasance. I'm going to read this because it's important. You're going to hear these terms over and over again over the next several months. In office means any wrongful conduct that affects, interrupts, or interferes with the performance of official duty. Additionally, misfeasance. In office means the performance of a duty in an improper manner. Additionally, malfeasance in office means the commission of an unlawful act. Okay? Violation of oath of office means neglect or knowing failure by an elected public officer to perform faithfully a duty imposed by law. Very straightforward stuff. This is old English words. They've been around for a long time. There's not a lot of interpretation here. So what has truly happened? That's the background, right? That didn't take too long. And a lot of slides there. That was a lot of typing, believe it or not. Well, we, the people, have been creating court records. And we've been creating a lot of them. I don't even think I got them all on here. But when I put this list together, I was a little amazed because I'd forgotten, just to be honest, because I'm a very busy guy and I'm trying to deal with what I have to deal with. In Skagit County Superior Court, I personally brought 3 charges to the Superior Court dealing with election misconduct. No response by the Superior Court judges, no assistance. Snohomish County Superior Court, I did the same thing. Mind you, these don't come free. They like to fine me for doing this stuff. They don't act on a notice. They don't do anything helpful. This is a well-known legalese approach to fine people who cause a problem. Okay. The Washington State Supreme Court, I've stood in front of them. Very proud of that. Did do nothing. I'm very proud of this, very proud. I like to recap this as there was one HAVA federal election complaint filed in the state of Washington before me in the year 2008, I believe. And I believe I had 13 after that. And these are the ones that made it into a hearing process where a judge would not allow it to proceed, would not allow me to file evidence, would not allow anything more to happen once I had every single name on there, like Steve Hobbs, the Secretary of State, the entire Skagit County election office, Sandra Perkins, Julie Wise from King County, Greg Kearney from Clark County, Garth Fell from Snohomish County, Vicki Deems from Spokane County. All defendants. It was and is, and I doubt it'll ever be beaten, the largest HAVA election violation complaint in state history. No dispute. A judge stopped it. We have U.S. District Court complaints of the most recent. These are federal court complaints in Seattle. A lot of learning curve on this stuff, by the way. Don't think this stuff comes very easily. It's a lot of reading, barely keeping my toes in front of me. Tips down, I think. The defendants are in front of you. These cases are all joined. Here's another case. The defendants are all in front of you. It's the entire Skagit County government, including a number of past officials in the election office that had been part of the 2019 and prior elections that had been identified as election misconduct. No dispute. Statute of limitations. Don't think that this is something that anyone's denying. Everyone understand it. They're using statute of limitations against us when they get caught for election violations and violation of our civil rights and constitutional violations. A judge could actually say that to you, huh? It's amazing, isn't it? We've been creating more court records. This is one against the Skagit County Sheriff and the Skagit County Prosecuting Attorney, who publicly announced the public policy of Skagit County is they will not allow another criminal complaint case number to be filed against any county official. Can't do it in our county. And then we have a couple more. Bond violations and all the familiar names. You guys see them all? Yep. So, Skagit County District Court complaints, most recent, and which have been misrepresented in local media. I'm embarrassed for the editor of the Concrete Herald. Just so you know some of the games that are being played. He sat in the courtroom with us. He heard the same things as everyone else. He interviewed other plaintiffs, asked what was going to happen, and he said, well, we're going to proceed like the judge said. And never prints a word of it. Never says that the judge says everything can go to the other court. He just didn't want to hear it in his court. A dismissal and a transfer of jurisdiction are two different things. And the the Concrete Herald editor withheld information to the public and misrepresented the nature of the editorial he wrote. It's a shameful thing. I know him personally. I'm ashamed of him. Skagit County Deputy Prosecuting Attorneys Eric Peterson, Melinda Miller were brought in front of the court for misuse of public funds, falsifying their authorized lawful authority to use public funds, allocate public resources, and act in any official capacity. City of Mount Vernon, Council, Mayor, and Clerk. City of Cedar-Woolley, Council, Mayor, and Clerk. Town of Concrete, Council, Mayor, and Clerk. All refused to perform their duty, to report the suspected loss of public funds that were occurring and have been occurring throughout Skagit County in totals of over $10 million. It's an easy number to come up with. I know it's probably 10 times that magnitude, and it's going to be a quantified, detailed amount before I say it's 100 million, but it's over 10 million, I can say that. And so these aren't necessarily bad things. So we don't ever know what way, as a religious person and a Christian, what God's plan is for us, right? And I have no intention on ever becoming a lawyer. I wouldn't mind being an attorney. In fact, it's the definition of the word, the term is as I understand it. That's someone who deals in fact. I'm not a lawyer. And every one of these cases now, we have been able to, in every one of these courts, submit through the court process actual evidence. And it took us a number of cases to figure out how to do it and what was going on, because they will not tell you. They will not tell you process. They will not tell you they can have a signed confession in front of them, but if you don't submit it in the proper way, the confession won't be accepted. You can have a video of a murder, but that murder didn't occur unless someone can submit that video in the proper manner in accordance with court procedures. So we think we've done that in all these courts. All right? Still disgusted at them. Still don't know if there's things that we don't know about. It does not change our resolve and our obligation. And that's we the people I'm talking about. Because if you're we the people, you do not stop. You will never stop. Because this is what it's about. It started with a fight, it will end with a fight. That's how simple it is. Right now we're fighting in court, and that is going to change soon because we found a new way to fight. So as I mentioned, the evidence that was submitted, we have everything I've said. Unauthorized use of public funds, masquerading as public officials, bond violations, oath of office violations, election violations, civil rights violations. It is not going to leave the court record. It can't. They would like it to, but it can't. So the question is, where is it going to go from here? Well, first we have to understand what we understand. We've been in this room. I've spoken to most of you more than once. You've seen my videos. You know we've been to court over this. And there's no dispute about it. We have bond and oath violations. And according to statutes, RCWs, every elected office shall become vacant on the happening of any of the following events: his or her refusal or neglect to take his or her oath of office, or to give or renew his or her official bond, or to deposit such oath or bond within the time prescribed by law. Need a lawyer to tell you what's happened? Their offices have been vacated. So we have bond violations, and we have 6 county public office positions have been vacated, and others. And what's supposed to happen? The county legislative authority in each county shall, at its next regular and special meeting, after being appraised of any vacancy in any county, township, precinct, or road district, office of the county, fill the vacancy by the appointment of some person qualified to hold such office, and the offices thus appointed shall hold office until the next general election and until their successors are elected and qualified. Didn't know what I was doing, but we have over a dozen local, state, and federal cases. They've been notified. That's over with. That dispute is over. They've been notified of the vacancies, but they have not filled the vacancies, have they? Because you haven't heard about it, have you? Vacated county positions have not been filled. So, in absolute facts, we have vacated positions. They have not been filled. It's very simple. So what have we overlooked? What is going on? Those of us who've been pushing paper and contributing in the wee hours of the night to all the court documents have read and read and read and done this circular logic over and over and over and just can't get over what is going on. This is just a normal cover sheet for a lawsuit. We have a lot of them like this. This is just one I picked. And I wanted to point something out to you guys. It came like an epiphany, like a light from up above. And it just happened not too long ago. And if you look at this, at the defendants, this is just one particular set of defendants. You say we've been busy? Yeah, we've been very busy, haven't we? Every single case essentially has one defendant that's the same. Essentially every single time. So, I want you to understand something. Definitions matter. And this is the definition of a political subdivision. means any county, city, town, school district, fire district, port district, or public utility district in the state. This is the federal code for a political subdivision. Code of Federal Regulations. Has everyone here heard of the Supremacy Clause? Generally understand? There is no law below federal law that can conflict with federal law and be a law. It has to only agree with it, complement it, comply with it. You can't have a different law at a state level than a federal level for the same thing. You can't do it. The federal level will always govern. For those of you who've been in the military, chain of command is really simple. It's one of the easiest concepts. It's beat into you about 5 minutes after you show up. For some of us at Great Lakes, other people, Paris Island and other places. My brother was down in Texas. If you read it, item C. Political subdivision starts at the top and includes any subdivision of a public unit, any principal department of such public unit. Okay, actually, I'm going to read the whole thing. A, the creation of which subdivision or department has been expressly authorized by state statute. Here is federal law. Can't break federal law. Remember the subject, political subdivision, expressly authorized by state statute. Okay? B, to which some functions of government have been delegated by state statute. And C, to which funds have been allocated by statute or ordinance. Don't really need the rest of it. So to get the point across, it is pretty consistent. The federal law governs always. Political subdivision is a government entity. In this case, if we were talking about the county, it'd be the county of Skagit, wouldn't it? And that's who we've been in litigation with. The political subdivision of the state of Skagit County. I'm going to restate that. A political subdivision known as the County of Skagit. The County of Skagit is assigned government authorities. It has statutes that regulate funds. It has statutes that regulate its existence. This is one of the surety bonds. I just wanted to show it. I could sit here for a long time and give you guys evidence of a lot of things. So just trust me on it when I just give you a couple. You can look up more. If you read this, this is the official surety bond for Richard Wyrich, our Skagit County prosecuting attorney. This is our former Skagit County prosecuting attorney, and this is his former bond. And when you look at it, it says who is entrusting this thing. You see the similarity? County of Skagit, right? What is the County of Skagit? Political subdivision. What is the political subdivision? Given government authority. Prior to me coming up here, you had presentation briefly by Larry. And before this, I made sure it was all right. I wanted to use this cover sheet because this was one of the keys to understanding part of what's going on. And I think a big part, we won't know probably until we're up above or unless there's a large series of confessions that confirm everything. And I want you to really pay attention to what's on your screen. And I want you to notice something about who is he being attacked by. He's been attacked by a corporation. And it's not the County of Skagit, because the County of Skagit is a government body. The County of Skagit is a political subdivision of the state of Washington. Who's attacking Larry?
Private corporation.
It's a private corporation. It was incorporated by the County of Skagit, and it is acting as a government entity. And this is not a small thing. I've talked to you guys repeatedly about the official bonds, and this is the simplest way to say it. On January 2nd, forgive my spelling, the elected government, 6 county officials of the County of Skagit cease to exist. On January 2nd, the Municipal Corporation of Skagit County assumed control of all government operations in Skagit County. I want you to really think about this. We do not have a government. They will not replace themselves. The corporation has taken over. For those who've been around this stuff for a while, you've known about this for a long time. I've known about it for years. Others have known about it for a decade. If I understood it completely, I understand it a lot more. Okay? A corporation with no lawfully elected board of directors is operating and filling the positions of power of our county government right now. The government officials have been vacated, and they cannot replace themselves unless they announce they've left. And at that point, the government can come in from outside the county and replace them. They are not leaving because they have taken on the membership as the board of directors for the corporation of Skagit County. The next steps. Skagitonians, I will be one of them, will conduct a recall to oust all corrupt public officials. Am I telling you this is going to fix it? No. I am telling you this is the next step. All we have are the feet in front of us. And if you're not moving forward, you're standing still or going backwards. We have a process that we can follow. Okay? We will be recalling all 6 of the Skagit County commissioners: Lisa Janicki, Ron Wiesen, Peter Browning, Skagit County Prosecuting Attorney Richard Wyrich, Sandra Perkins, Don McDermott. They refused to leave office. They refused to announce their vacancies, and they refused to fill the vacated positions. And they will not. We will be advocating for registered voters in the communities of the city of Mount Vernon, the city of Cedar Woolley, and the town of Concrete for the recall election of every council member and mayor. We will then be following with the cities of Anacortes, the cities of Burlington, and the town of LaConner. Skagit County will have one of the largest recall elections in state history, and it is going to happen. I will tell you that now. We will follow the process. We will give it a chance. And this process is starting tonight. I know that there will be an opportunity, if you want to work with this and be part of the group that goes out and gets these petition signatures and coordinates and does what it can do for fundraising. This is not going to be free. There will be an opportunity for you. And there'll be other opportunities that I'm very proud of. And one of which I will explain to you right now that I don't have another slide for, but I want to make sure you understood. We have a strategy that we are going to be taking, and I think it may have been exposed to you slightly, and it's fine, to defund the corporation of Skagit County from all future tax collections in this county, effective immediately. It's going to start with the courts. We're going to be developing amicus briefs for every city municipal court case, every county court case, as well as every state court case in the Superior Court, to dismiss all actions brought by the corporate government and the falsely empowered representatives of our elected government. We will make sure every defendant knows what we know. There will be no further tax collection in our court system. There will be no further municipal fees and fines from a corporation we have no contract with. I have a contract with the Constitution. That's my contract. If you are not under the Constitution, we don't have a contract. That's how simple it is. And there is only one supreme contract in this entire country, and that's the Constitution of the United States of America. Beyond that, I got my contract with God. And if you're not one of those two contracts and you don't comply with one of those two, I am not complying with you. And that's where this is going. It is a mind-blowing realization, is what it is. And there's more people involved than we named tonight. And I say we, but I speak as we the people. And their day will come, and they will have their name on paperwork, and their name will be petitioned, and they will be ousted, and it will happen. Because we will get the votes that, regardless if they acknowledge them, we will have the votes to prove that we the people are in charge. And they are masquerading, and that we have ousted them. And those words are legal words, and if you don't pick up on that. There was a court document that came to mind that helped me understand what was going on here. And it was a defense paper involving the county commissioners. And that they could not be considered out of their office because we had not ousted them. And those words had stuck in my mind for 6 months. If we do not take the lead, this is unfortunate, I have a slide missing. It was the section 33 of the Washington State Constitution, and it describes this process, and I apparently didn't put it in. If we do not follow the rules in our Constitution, which is our contract with our government, then we're not following our own rules. And that's where this goes. That's where my mind is. That's where my heart is on this. I am going to keep putting my feet in front of me and taking steps forward. I'm going to keep asking for other people to do it. And I'm going to encourage everyone to understand there is a process to keep moving forward with, but things have gotten very dark. They've gotten very scary right now. Again, there's no dispute. We have too much information. It's too much of a record. But we do still have rules in front of us that we've agreed to follow. And I'm going to keep following those rules. And I have the intention on making this the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened in the state of Washington. And every single person who touches it, who does not do the right thing, guess what? Your name is going on the list of people who we're going to petition after. Every single one of them. We've already got almost 30. I take that back. We have over 30. I am not overstating it. It will end up being a citizen petition recall to oust every single official in this county. None of them can be trusted, not one of them. And I will bring up an old point on this that I have to really make sure you guys understand. Every single time we've hit a wall, every single thing we've come across that has stopped us from getting our liberty back, getting our government back of we the people, our representative government, there is always one person there, every single time. They have different names, but it's their attorney. Every single time. And they are a public official under our laws. They are bound to, they're required to have an oath of office to follow the Constitution of the state of Washington on file. I have yet to find one because they are the enemy of the Constitution. I will tell you now. Every one of them in this county has betrayed it. They haven't even taken an oath to it, to betray it. Almost like they don't want to be held accountable to it, like a lawyer. I really want you to think about that. There is not a valid oath to the Constitution for a single attorney who represents our government agencies in this county. This is not an accident. The attorneys that are stopping this is not an accident. This is not some sort of relationship with their client. They are public officials. They're the ones issuing the civil citations. They are the ones advising and probably threatening some of these public officials who are scared to death. I wish some of them would come out if they were and have be strong enough. But I am convinced they're the ones behind most of it. Because one thing corporations have a lot of is lawyers. I just want to remind you guys of that. And we have a lot of them in this county that we got to deal with. So I'm a little short of my 57 minutes. So I will guarantee you I'll answer more questions after this. But with that, I will open up for any questions anyone has.